I think I pressed go live before I added us to the screen with all the technical issues with StreamYard. It wouldn't let us in, and
Well, it still says scheduled on my end.
okay, I see we're live on YouTube, so I think we're okay.
Are you sure? Okay.
Well, I got the email notification. I am not sure, but I'll check once we get started.
Is it at least recording? Because if it's at least recording, then we can just record.
Yeah, it should be recording period. Oh,
It says ready to record on my end.
I got the blinky screen.
I just want to make sure that we don't just talk forever without it being recorded, right?
Well, I got uploading right now, so it's uploading my local recordings, and recording is in progress.
Okay, mine says ready to record, so I'll trust you.
Again, the system has been wanky for us, so let me see. We are live on YouTube. I'm seeing us right now.
Recording in progress.
All right, are you happy now? Can we? Yeah. All right, let me get to this. So let's jump into it. Welcome back to Silicon Scoop, everyone. We've had technical issues. StreamYard wasn't working. Things weren't happening, but we were going to jump into it. With me, as always, is John Irwin. And the first article up here today is Scent Teleportation. So is Smell-O-Vision coming soon or what?
Yeah. Well, you know what? You know what's funny is, I don't know if you know this, but they already have theaters that are, I think, 4D, where like they spray things on you. So I think back in the day, in like the 60s and 70s, they did test Smell-O-Vision, and I don't know if you know anything more about that, but so all that being said, this company Osmo, they've announced a significant breakthrough in their Scent Teleportation project, which involves innovative technology which aims to capture a scent in one location and recreate it in another, essentially teleporting smells across distances. So the way they're doing this, it involves a couple steps. So first, they're using a gas chromatography mass spectrometry. So think about your CSI kind of stuff, which is really cool. So the system analyzes and it identifies the molecular components of a scent. Then it converts it. So the scent data is uploaded to the cloud, as long as the cloud's up and working, unlike today, and mapped onto a printable odor map. And then this is where AI comes in. The AI-driven tool then predicts olfactory perceptions based on molecular compositions. Then from there, formulation robots use the digital recipe to mix and recreate the original scent using a combination of base odors. And then the recreated scent is compared to the original to ensure accuracy. Pretty cool, if you ask me. What are your thoughts, Craig?
Well, this is amazing, and it blows my mind what we're doing with this, or blows your nose, I guess, when you start thinking about smelling. But yeah, Smell-O-Vision was they made earlier attempts back in 1960s, which used tubes and scents to enhance cinematic experience. Today, however, the advances in science are far more sophisticated. This is really interesting. So I guess, if we're doing this in theaters, as an example, they would release these odors into the air.
Yeah, I think there's an application in two ways. One is like sending I just think sending a fart to a loved one. But sending a fart to a loved one, or creating a digital footprint. You know how like the what are they called? Gaffers, the ones who make the sounds in the movies?
Yep.
Something similar to that for the movies, so that it triggers certain scents, because obviously so there's two things: the teleportation and then the actual delivery of the scent, right? So utilizing the end result of that for movies and stuff could potentially make things more immersive, especially nowadays with people shying away from going to movie theaters, right?
Yeah, and I guess we have to worry about allergies and whatnot, but the concept is really cool. And you got to wonder, if you keep releasing the same scents in a movie, if it runs for a month at a time, do those scents linger over?
Yeah. So just to kind of give our listeners a little bit of history on Osmo. So this isn't just theoretical. They actually successfully demonstrated scent teleportation in their lab, and they started with a simple scent like coconut. And so they've made quite significant strides since then, and they're obviously going to try to tackle more and more complex odors. But it's interesting to note from my perspective. I don't know about you, but like I didn't know that that some odors are more complex than others. Like I know perfumes and colognes can be complex, but I didn't know odors themselves were complex. But that does make sense now that we talk about it. What about you?
Yeah, it makes like I didn't think about it, but your taste buds are often triggered by smell. So, and you smell coffee, and that's different from French fries, different from this. I think it's very complex when you start thinking about it. But on the
Yeah,
surface level, you just think a smell's a smell. So,
yeah,
but this technology is really cool because we're talking about scent teleportation. It's about transmitting scents digitally, so we can forget perfumes. We're talking about connected device that replicate and send aromas through the air. So I could have a necklace or a watch or something that, you know, gives
yeah,
me a nice smell all day long that I can change on by hour by
yeah.
my
On the
whim.
fly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't even think about that. That's really cool. But again, there's a whole bunch of things that like the other thing too is this could be used in a whole bunch of different mediums, not just for scents, right? Like,
Yeah, like again, I don't know what other mediums this could be used for. When you say other than sense, like
sorry, yeah. So
my mind goes to virtual reality video games. Like you're
yeah,
hiking through a digital forest, and all of a sudden you can smell the earth and the rain.
yeah. That's sorry. I'm and hold on one second. So,
You're
thinking
muted.
some oh
Start that again. Go ahead. You're
oh
okay
yeah.
now.
So I was thinking food and beverage and yeah, virtual reality for sure.
Yeah, this is, real estate agents do that trick where they put a little bit of vanilla on a pan and put it in the oven to make it smell like fresh
Yeah.
bread and make the house smell really nice. Um, this kind of thing starts to really take over that. And we'll probably replace all those, deodorizers and whatever we have now, especially those ones that switch and whatnot, because now you can have it whatever you want. The idea is very interesting, but is this expensive? I
Oh
would imagine, obviously it's way more
yeah,
expensive than, carrying around an electronic device. Um, they've done this in the lab at what level? Like, we're saying
yeah.
we've taken it from this lab to that lab with all the sophisticated equipment. How close are we to seeing consumer, do you
Well,
know?
yeah. So they said that the next step is to um, they're going to open select demos to the public, allowing individuals to experience it. So it's going to be interesting to see. But yeah, the cost because it does use a GCMS, right? So I know those are expensive, but it'll be interesting to see kind of how they get the cost down. And yeah, if they can get the cost down, um, then yeah, it can definitely be adopted to the masses, right?
Yeah, and what's cool about what they've done from an experimentation point of view is they haven't just programmed a scent into something. They've detected the scent of a plum and had the machine detect that scent, figure it out, and send it across and reproduce that scent somewhere else. So it's not a pre-programmed thing saying this is vanilla, this is a plum, this is dirt, this is whatever, coffee. It takes it from the air. So you could literally have um,
Yeah,
as an example, the smell of my local coffee shop because they could have a device on their end and I could just pick it up as a and get that feeling at home. Now that's a
you could,
silly
you could
example.
subscribe to that. No, you could subscribe to that, right? You could subscribe to Sense. Um,
The concept is incredible.
yeah,
And we in integrating it into games, integrated into education, because a lot of
yeah,
times your smell is one of your strongest senses, and it will trigger your memory back to a location. It probably will help out in education.
yeah,
We talked about VR, but what about in VR therapy for a more tailored
Yeah.
and relaxing experience? Um, I guess we'd have to prioritize privacy. Like, do you want my smell as an example? Like, this is a thing, and can you, then this is now start to get interesting. If you can replicate my smell, like I come in, let's just say I've been arrested,
Yeah.
and they take my fingerprints, but now they take my smell as well, and they can feed
Ah,
that to guard dogs or whatever, the sniffing guard dogs to try and track me down, or these scent detectors that are located. If they, I come
yeah.
by and they say, oh, they identify that as Craig and detect them. There's some interesting, things around this technology that we're just scratching the surface on that people probably haven't really thought about.
Yeah, no, like this could replace drug sniffing dogs potentially. Who knows, right?
Yeah, using scent emulation in
I know
travel.
that, and I know they've already developed something like that. I know they developed the nose of a dog for sniffing, and it's in development. I don't think we ever covered it, but I did read it somewhere.
I don't remember that off the top of my head, but it makes perfect sense. And you could also see scent in advertising. So
Yeah,
if your computer is capable of that, and something, you get an ad and all of a sudden you're smelling chocolate, or
yeah,
you're smelling those French fries, or you're smelling fresh baked bread, and you start to drool. Uh,
yeah. Well, yeah.
I
Well, think about it. If you're watching a commercial at home, and it can recreate that scent, right? So you're watching McDonald's, and they give you the scent of a Big Mac. I bet you that would be way more effective than just the commercial, obviously, right?
Yeah, and so we'd have to understand the ethical concerns of that, because if
Yes.
if now they're trying, it's already that you turn on the TV or the radio and it's eat, eat, buy, eat, eat. And now they're going to throw smells at you to make you even more hungry. We've already got an obesity problem.
Yeah.
So the question becomes is this going to be throttled, controlled, open season? Is this the Wild West for new electronic devices? Because this could easily be a huge market in the next 20 years.
Absolutely. Yeah. And obviously, this is the Wild West, just like anything new. There's no regulation on it. So, yeah, just like there's no regulation on that other thing that we covered last week or last time, which is that IQ testing, which blows my mind. There's no regulation on that. So,
Yeah, it's always
um,
interesting when they're talking about stuff like that, when the embryo IQ testing while they're in the womb, so you
yeah.
can make whatever decisions around that.
Yep.
So we're going to keep an eye on this. We'd love to know what you think out there about scent teleportation, how you use it. Are you looking forward to it? How do you see this moving forward? Drop us a comment, send us a note. We'd love to hear back from you.
Absolutely.
So now we want to talk about teleporting hydrogen.
Yeah. So So let's just dive into this real quick. So there's a development in hydrogen transportation that's been achieved using liquid organic hydrogen carrier, or LOHC technology. The innovation allows for the quote unquote transportation of hydrogen over long distances, which solves a huge challenge in the widespread adoption of hydrogen as a key energy source, right? So what this does is it enables hydrogen to be stored and transported in liquid form at room temperature, which is key. I know you and I have talked about this in the past. Two major things is storing hydrogen under not too much pressure, and storing it at temperatures that are not really super cold, like Kelvin degrees, minus Kelvin. So how they do this is they bond hydrogen to toluene, which allows for a safe and efficient long distance transportation using existing infrastructure. So no new infrastructure is going to be needed, right? So it simplifies and reduces the cost of hydrogen transportation compared to previous techniques. Like we said, the one that we didn't talk was mixing it with ammonia is a common practice for transporting hydrogen. So they might not have to do that anymore.
So they didn't actually teleport hydrogen as explored in this
Yeah.
concept. It isn't about physically moving hydrogen atoms. across space. Instead, it's about advancing methods of energy transfer that mimic the idea of teleportation. So here's how they did it. Quantum mechanics for energy transfer. Quantum mechanics, specifically quantum entanglement, is the backbone of this concept. Researchers are looking into how they can teleport information or energy states between entangled particles over distances. Hydrogen itself isn't transported, but the energy state that the hydrogen could carry might be transferred,
That's it.
effectively achieving a form of instantaneous energy teleportation, transmission.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Yeah, sorry, I should have covered that, but yeah,
That's right.
thanks for clarifying. But it's essentially you're taking the state, putting it into a state, and then transporting it, and then bringing that state back, kind of thing. So, it's cool. Another great advancement for hydrogen. Who knows what's going to happen in the next few years with the presidency, with the prime minister. Hopefully there's some movement in clean hydrogen. I know I was reading some things on hydrogen itself, especially North America. It's not moving as quickly as in Europe, but yeah, well, hopefully things change, right? Just like I think what we need the people who turned kale from the Pizza Hut garnish into a salad to get behind hydrogen.
Well, whoever, I think you want to go step back, and whoever got kale labeled as a superfood,
Yeah.
should be, because you know that they couldn't sell it to, it had all this stuff they were growing, no one would buy it. It wasn't worth anything until they got labeled as a superfood, and it became the most popular thing going. So
Exactly.
yeah, they
Yeah.
got to get involved in that. So pioneers like Alain Aspect and John Klosser have been pivotal with their discoveries, laying the groundwork for understanding how particles can be interconnected through quantum entanglement. So, when we start talking about energy transmission in the grid, we start saying, okay, if we can actually teleport energy, or via instantly transfer energy without loss over distance.
Oh, we've solved all the problems in the world if we can do that.
Well, this is kind of where this is going, isn't it? I mean, I don't know what the energy takes to actually teleport the energy, but some approaches involve enhancing energy grid infrastructure and use superconducting materials or highly effective energy carriers that make it seem
Yeah.
like energy teleports from one location to another due to the speed and efficiency of transmission.
Well, yeah. So that's I know, and I haven't done a deep dive into superconducting materials, but from what I've read, if we're able to, and I know we talked about one that got disproven or got whatever we want to call it, but if we can find a room temperature, or if we can develop a room temperature superconducting material, we are that much closer to instantaneous transfer of energy, essentially, if that makes sense.
Yes, and if we can actually start moving hydrogen at room temperature in a secure and safe way, this also becomes a
Exactly.
That's one of the aspects of this is what you mentioned: improved hydrogen storage and transport. There are also advancements in hydrogen storage materials which allow hydrogen to be stored and transported with minimal energy loss. While this isn't teleportation in its traditional sense, it's a step towards efficiently moving hydrogen energy over distances without losing much energy in the process.
Yeah. Now, if we want to talk about actual teleportation of energy using quantum entanglement, quantum physics, that's a whole other subject, because then we have to talk about entangled nucleus, entangled electrons. And there actually is work being done towards that. But yeah, that's a whole other can to open up.
Well, we did talk about quantum batteries, which is a really cool idea, which is, you never have to charge them because they're always being charged.
Yeah.
Your battery is quantum entangled, a battery that's plugged into a wall somewhere.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you never run out. Like we've talked about some of these things, like, wow, the concept is really interesting.
Yeah.
Do we have a lot of regulatory hurdles or other barriers that we're going to have to jump through to start seeing this kind of thing?
With this, I would say less because it's going to use existing infrastructure. There may be some regulatory hurdles as far as testing the hypothesis of being able to transport it this way. But besides that, like if they're using ships and potentially pipelines and tankers, I see this becoming becoming adopted much more quickly than other methods that we've covered. What do you think?
Yeah, well, we'll see. Like for some reason, the world is resistant to hydrogen. We've seen the roller coaster stocks. We've seen, when you look out in the world, no one's talking about it. We see EVs, we see all
Yeah.
this other stuff, but no one's talking about hydrogen. There's articles, we are, and that's still the barrier of it takes more energy than to create the hydrogen than hydrogen output. So it's always been a barrier, and then you start the difficulties related to transportation and storage. If we solve the transportation and storage issue, those other things start to go away too.
Exactly. And maybe hydrogen's flying under the radar for now until they reach kind of maybe an inflection point or a TSN turning point where they're like, okay, now we're ready to really promote this and push this. I don't know.
And thinking about having, we talk about CO2 batteries and many other stuff in our previous, this is like another way to do, a hydrogen battery where we have solar or wind creating this, I'm going to say quantum entangled hydrogen energy that we can transmit at a future state. This becomes a very interesting solution as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So we'd love to know what you think. Why is hydrogen not being promoted as much? Is it not the future? We see things happening and stuff happening. Walmart's buying fleet of trucks. We see more vehicles coming out, but the infrastructure is not being built out nearly as fast as EVs or anything else. So let us know what you think. Is hydrogen the future? Is there something else? Is this teleportation of hydrogen going to change, be a game changer or not? All right. This one is kind of cool.
Yeah. So you know me, I love my Galaxy Z Flip 5, like the old Motorola Razors. But for those of you that don't know, there are phones out there now that have a bendable display. So this LG, taking it one step further, and they've unveiled a stretchable display, which I don't know if you're showing the picture. There we go.
Yep.
So this is a significant advancement in flexible screen innovation. And it's a major leap forward from their previous efforts. And they are showcasing a display that can expand by 50% from its original size. So the 12-inch display can stretch to 18 inches, which is absolutely nuts, which is super cool. Now, the resolution, it's 100 ppi, which I think compared to an Apple iPhone, which is 350, 360 ppi or DPI or whatever you want to call it. We'll have to see, but yeah, it's got full RGB color capabilities. It can withstand over 10,000 stretches. But I think this is cool because with the bendable phones, right, Craig? There's a where it bends, there's a little bit of a, you can see it, right? I think this might eliminate that. What do you think?
I think we're going to see a lot of new cool interfaces and things are going to change. Like if you're watching the video here, yeah, you're going to eliminate those seams like you're talking about.
Yeah.
This is an example of something potentially in a vehicle where the interfaces literally changes shape. You can see that it turns from flat to a dial thing that somebody can spin around on for control. He just touches it, it rises up, it has different control mechanism. I think this is the future for a lot of things where we're really going to start to see your interfaces can now do some really cool things. Imagine right now, for example, your iPad or your phone as a playable device, but it's not great because you're using your thumbs. Now you have
Yeah.
slight indents or slight raises for those thumb pads with bumps where you want to be, and all of a sudden it's a whole new experience, and it's
Yeah.
all because of this flexible glass. Now it's great that you can close the screen, that you can stretch it and make it bigger. I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to a laptop where I can expand the screen or whatnot.
Yeah. That's
But
cool.
I think these kinds of things that we haven't thought of are really going to be game changers, where it just literally changes shape and form based on the function you need.
Yeah, the other big advancement for this would be people who blind people,
Yes.
visually impaired. So then this could display braille. This could flex to pop up braille. This could flex like a whole bunch of things. This would make things much more accessible for people with who are visually impaired.
Yeah, these flexible substrates that create these OLEDs for short, they're going to become chameleons of the tech world. I don't know, like I'm just imagining that the device in your hand can literally change shape.
Yeah.
You
Yeah, you
know,
can wear it as a bracelet and then take it off and expand it into a tablet.
Yeah, or you can shrink your
Oh,
watch screen
yeah.
down to a small thing when you're going for an elegant thing, and then stretch it out when you're doing business. Like it's also just completely different. Like if your
Yeah.
phone changes shape, so it all becomes a controller where you have finger grips and you have
Yeah.
like unbelievable amount of things that I can't even begin to imagine yet. Where now we have every type of interaction button stuff that you could do in the real world now becomes part of these electronic devices where you get that touch, the feel, that feedback.
Yeah.
Um, it's I think this is a game changer more than people think.
I agree. This is a game changer more than the bendable displays. Absolutely, for sure. There's so many use cases for this. Like we're automotive, I think you said.
Yep.
There's emergency services, like in the firefighter uniforms for real time information display, wearable technology, medical devices, like everything. Everything that has a screen, this has a use case for, right? Even if it doesn't have a screen, this has a use case for it.
Well, as soon as you start talking about this type of technology, you say, okay, well, why are we not incorporating this into things that without screens? Like you said, imagine, and this is just a small use case, putting your hands on the steering wheel and then the finger bumps naturally appear about where around your fingers wherever you put them, not having a set that you have to because it
Yeah.
fits you. The controls for the stereo wherever go where your hands are, not at a predefined location.
Oh, I like that. That's a great idea. Yeah, that's cool. Then you don't have to look down at it. It moves with wherever your hand placement is. Oh, that is such a great idea. That'd be great. So that dial there too, like with me, the dial in my car is in a fixed location, right?
Yeah.
Having that move to where, yeah, that would be a great idea for sure.
So I like that's what I mean by the things you can't even think of right
Yeah,
now that become amazing when a the interface, how you hold something can actually change.
yeah,
The a mug can actually contour to your fingers so it's more grippable. Like there's
yeah,
a great, and this is all based on flexible glass that's going to drive kind of this forward. So
yeah,
I'm really interested in this because it I think it's a game changer for everything.
yeah. I agree. Yeah, this is really cool. And again, what I love about this, I know we talk about a lot of theoretical stuff. This is something that's actually been built. They've iterated on it, and they're at this point now, and it's only going to get better. So they actually have a working device. They have working devices, which is really cool. It's not just something that is theoretical, like a lot of stuff that we cover, right, Craig?
Yeah, as of November 2024, stretchable smartphones and tablets remain in prototype and concept phase, but they do exist.
But they have
Um,
the displays, though, right?
yeah,
So,
companies
yeah,
like Oppo and Motorola have showcased innovative designs like Oppo's rollable concept phone that expands from 6.7 to 7.4 inches, and Motorola's bendable phone with a flexible display that can wrap around your wrist.
yeah,
However, these models are not yet commercially available, so there's probably some tweaking to do because maybe the flexibility is not great for all the rest of the electronics in the device.
Yeah.
So Samsung has also been exploring advanced display technologies, including foldable and rollable screens. The company has filed for patents for these devices, combining the combined folding and rolling mechanism, indicating potential for future developments in that area. Imagine just being able to roll up your laptop.
Exactly. Yeah.
It is
Like the Yoga Mat. Yeah.
it is happening now. We're going to start to see these things in production in the next few years, like what, not 5 to 10, but probably 2 to 4. They just have to figure out what the first few models are going to be. But yeah, this will help all the bendable displays.
Yeah, for sure.
So we'll definitely be keeping an eye on this. We'd love to know what you think about these bendable displays. What are you looking forward to be stretchable in a display or tech device? Let us know. We'd love to hear this. And the other thing is, is this an end of broken screens?
Yeah. Great point. Who knows? Yeah.
Well, let us know what you think, and we'd love to hear back from you. All right, let's jump to this next one. So I'm not sure why this is a big deal, but
I know, right?
So I guess it's exciting for some people because, today we're talking about a humanoid robot has created the first painting created by a humanoid robot has been sold for over $1 million. So I guess the difference is it's not just a robot, it's a humanoid looking robot who stood there and painted it versus, we've had robots at our event paint.
Yes.
And they did some very interesting things, but it was just basically, a computer or AI generating art and putting it on a plotter and painting it. This is, a robot. I guess this looks like the robot here. I assume it's this one who actually painted the picture. But is it worth over $1 million? Does this actually change art? Is the art definition changed because a robot took a brush and went like this?
I think the art industry is up in arms probably about this. Again, I'm curious to know who paid $1 million for it. It could be a tech geek. So what I really liked about this though is that the painting is a portrait of Alan Turing.
Yes.
I don't know if you know that. So it's a culturally significant piece, getting a humanoid robot to paint a portrait of Alan Turing, who, for those that don't know, is a pioneer in computer science and artificial intelligence. So I could see that. Again, when it comes to art, its value is in the eye of the beholder. Is that the saying or whatever? But
yes, yeah.
Yeah. So this is interesting. I guess the high valuation could suggest that collectors and art enthusiasts are beginning to view AI created artworks as valuable and collective. But yeah, so it's the way that it did it is it used cameras in its eyes, AI algorithms, and a robotic arm. So I don't know how much pre-programming was done versus real-time thought, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. So the robot who painted it was called Ada, and the painting was called AI God. And it sold, like I said, for over $1 million. There was after 27 bids at Sotheby's in New York, and the person who bought it has not been publicly disclosed.
Okay.
But this is really interesting. So is robot art valuable, or is it because it's the first one that makes it valuable? Like, there's a lot of people who buy the first one of anything just because they, who knows what it'll turn out to be, right?
Yeah. Well, who knows? Could this be the same route that it goes with? What was that? The non-fungible tokens. What was that stuff?
NFTs, yeah.
NFTs, right? Who knows? The problem we have here is now we have not problem, but what we have here is technology getting involved in something that is subjective.
Yeah. And so some art critics are scratching their heads arguing that there's no emotional connection in AI creativity. Meanwhile, others have a fresh perspective saying that adds a new layer to the art scene. And I've seen, you know, I guess AI artists are different than other artists. And, would you call an AI artist? I make a lot of AI art. I would not call myself an AI artist. I only make AI art for podcasts and promotional stuff, not for, hey, look at this artistic thing I'm doing. So when does AI art other than like NFTs become valuable? They just become a unique thing, or are we trending towards at some point it'll be worth more if a human did it?
Yeah, that's a good point. So is this going to raise the cost of or is this going to raise the value of human made art versus this? So it's gonna I think that obviously this is gonna be a roller coaster in the next few years, going up and down probably, with a lot of critics and a lot of back and forth with people. Yeah, there's the it's interesting. It's like I get why it was covered, and I love that it was Sotheby's that auction house that auctioned it off, which makes it more of a legit kind of news piece, if that makes sense, as opposed to just some random auction house, if that makes sense.
Yep.
So yeah.
So
Yeah, I know, Craig. You create some art using AI.
yep.
Have you tried to create a portrait of Alan Turing?
No, but I might afterwards because I have no
You
idea what
should.
he looks like. But we start to get into weird ethics here, right? Who owns DAW's painting?
I
So if
would
I
say
have
the
a robot,
creator of Ada. What's his name?
does the
Aiden Meller.
creator get the check? So is it convoluted or does Ada deserve a cut? This raises questions like, hey, my art is AI generated and I give my robot royalties.
Yeah, and then the robot goes and spends it online on Amazon.
Yeah. And, as we're looking at a renaissance in the
Yeah,
world right now, that we're not people, it's an AI renaissance that people really don't understand that we're in right now, where we're revolutionizing music and art and creative writing and all these things. But it begs the question when we sit back and said, we want robots and AI to do our dishes and clean the house and fix things, not, music and art and writing and philosophy. Isn't those the things we should be exploring as humans
I
versus,
agree.
yeah, and yet we're giving that over to AI, it seems, because
Yeah.
it's easier.
Where my brain goes with this too is, so if it can do this, how far is it away from looking at an original, say, Mona Lisa, right? And recreating the exact paint strokes so that even the most expert forger couldn't tell the difference.
I don't, but
That's what
that's,
we're,
that is an interesting thing, um, maybe next week we'll be able to open our own art gallery called Techno Picasso, featuring me and my AI sidekick.
yep.
I This is interesting in a lot of ways. I like how we're progressing, but at the same time, we're breaking industries left and right. We see Disney's going full on in AI. All Hollywood is starting to embrace AI for all sorts of reasons. It's, YouTube and everyone else is being inundated with videos created by AI. And there's a question, at what point do they become just spam, which a lot of them are, but some of them are actually good. So, will it naturally just filter out and the garbage will be to the bottom, or are we just not going to be able to find it because it's just AI can build this stuff way faster than we can consume it?
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. What I'm curious about, right, is if let's get Ada to do another Alan Turing painting and see what it comes out with.
Yeah, that would
Does
be
it
interesting.
Does it come out with it very similar, or does it come out with something completely different?
Yeah, that would be interesting. I would assume it would come up with something different, but just by the nature of um, timing and such. But I don't know. Would it be the
Yeah.
exact same? This is a great question. So we'd love to hear what you think about AI in the future and a humanoid robot selling art worth over $1 million. And what's your take on robot artists? Would you hang a painting made by a robot in your living room? Drop us your thoughts in the comments and hit us up on social media. So let us know.
Yeah.
All right.
Time for one more.
Yeah, I guess that's it. The first artificial island to harness offshore wind energy. So this looks very interesting. We've decided that windmills are a pain in the butt on land, so we're going to build islands in the middle of nowhere and throw windmills on them to generate energy. What do you think?
I like it. I know that Ireland has a huge offshore wind farm. Creating an island probably makes more sense because then you have so you have more land because obviously the Earth is covered by mostly ocean water. You also have a spot where you can build more infrastructure as well. As opposed to just having these poles in the water. So maybe it's more secure, less volatile, less perceptive to high winds or whatever. But I think this is a smart move. And so for those of you who don't know, this is Belgium, and they're constructing the Princess Elizabeth Island, which is the first artificial energy island, which is really cool. The good thing for those that don't know, the good thing about wind energy is that typically it's constant as opposed to solar energy, which is only you can only gather by when the sun rays are hitting it. So I like it. I like this idea. It's the question that I have is this any better than putting in windmills into the ocean itself? You know what I mean?
Oh, you're talking about water turbines inside the ocean.
No. Like wind turbines. But I don't know if you've ever seen the pictures of the wind farm off the coast of Ireland, but they've got these huge stacks right in the middle of the ocean sticking out.
I don't remember seeing those.
Oh, yeah.
All right. I guess the difference is you can I don't know enough about, that particular scenario, but these ones they're saying they're integrate an impressive 3.5 gigawatts of offshore wind capacity into the Belgium power grid on this island. So I guess the thing is they probably consolidate all the energy of all the windmills together with one thing and then ship it back, which might be harder to do under in water and whatever. They have the local.
Yeah. Not if you can teleport it.
Fair, but you'd have to have the local teleport device or what have you there. So this is really interesting. They haven't announced any plans for additional energy islands, but however, European countries are exploring similar projects. Denmark, for instance, is developing energy islands in the North Sea and the Baltic Sea to serve as hubs for offshore farms and interconnectors. These initiatives reflect a broader European trend towards enhancing renewable energy infrastructure through innovative offshore solutions. I think this concept is interesting as long as we're not disrupting the oceans and all that kind of stuff, because now we can say, okay, if we're going to beam energy down from space or beam sun down from space, wouldn't it be great to be able to do that to these islands that are away from population? So,
yeah. Well, you would want it as close to the population as possible because you lose energy the longer the distance over the cables, right?
Well, for the wind, sure, but I'm talking about, overlap of sun 24 hours a day. If we're reflecting sun down, that's not good for humans. And if you're talking about, we're talking about literally beaming energy from satellite down, and you're unsure about how, that's what I'm talking about, away from populations where they're not going to have the impact of the negative aspects of those things. And, that mile or 2 miles, 5 miles offshore doesn't matter to me, but you get the idea.
Yeah. You know what I just thought of is you know how they're using, what was it, microwave technology, I think, to beam the energy from space down to Earth?
Yep.
What if they incorporated or tested similar technology for this? Instead of wires, they beam it from the island to the shore.
Well, it's I guess the question of how much energy does it cost to beam it
Yeah,
and how much
yeah,
loss there is. And,
exactly. Yeah. So
keeping that in, like, wires are still more reliable.
yeah, yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. So I know construction is scheduled between 2024 to 2027, and they're going to have 23, I think, windmills, or which is the equivalent of being able to power more than 3 million households. So, regardless of their approach to this, again, I love clean energy, love projects like this. I think this is the way we need to go. I think with wind farm technology, solar technology, as we covered, it's only getting better. So it's only getting more efficient. It's only, like, so having the infrastructure there, and then maybe just having to switch out the blades or the generator for a more efficient power generator, I think that's the way to go. Just like solar panels. Solar panels is a little more difficult to swap out. I think you just have to. But yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
I think this is really interesting. Like you said, there are some technical hurdles. Building and maintaining wind farms in marine environments presents an immense technical challenge due to harsh weather and logistical difficulties. And I would imagine that's why they want to get the stuff out of the water, which
Yeah,
is probably why they're not doing what you were suggesting. They just put them in the water. Probably maintenance on keeping those running is
with the salt.
super
Yeah,
hard. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
There are concerns about environmental impact, possible disruptions to marine ecosystem, wildlife migration, local fishing industries. A thorough environmental assessment is vital before proceeding. It's going to be 45 miles off the coast of Belgium.
okay.
So that's not too close. I mean, you talk about it needs to be close. And
Mhm.
navigating international waters of regulatory and legal challenges can complicate I guess, I'm having a hard time with this word, jurisdictional matters and regulatory compliance.
Yeah,
Projects must contend with numerous stakeholders, potentially causing delays. Who owns that 45 miles off? And,
yeah, yeah,
this is really cool. I like the wind stuff. I'm not sure how consistent the wind is in the places they're putting this, but there's places where
yeah,
there's lots. And if it actually generates this kind of energy, that's amazing.
yeah, yeah,
There are environmental impacts, but I don't want to minimize them, but I do want to say that fish adapt.
yeah,
It's like, just because there's an island there and we used to swim there, now we're going to swim over here.
yeah,
The
yeah.
pools go over there, the
Yeah,
water
they
changes.
adapt. They adapt by so much, though, right? Like, we've got rising, and this is different, but this goes into more like rising ocean temperatures and a whole bunch of different things. Like they can only adapt so much, right?
Yeah, and the question becomes, though, is building an island for these wind farms to give us clean energy better, or at
Yeah,
um, for warming the waters, or worse?
yeah,
I don't know,
yeah,
but I would assume it'd be better, because now we're not polluting the environment with carbon and all that kind of stuff, and all we're doing is. But again, I don't know enough about the flows and how the impact in the ocean flows and how some of these things might impact it.
yeah, exactly.
All right, what do you got going on, John?
Uh, well, we've got In the Know, Craig, you and I, next week. For, I don't know when this comes out, but those listening live, we got In the Know next week, which is you and I are presenting, and I'm not going to give too much away, but it's going to be very worthwhile. Come check it out. It's November 19th in Toronto. I can't remember the location, King and Church. But what do we have tomorrow?
Tomorrow, Startup Investor Drinks, and Taylor Swift is in town, so get down there early. We'll see you there. Looks like a good turnout. Yeah, this will go out, end of November, early December.
Oh, okay.
We're booked
Yeah.
that far ahead. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it'd be great. Check out startupcoach.com. Check out startupcoach.ca. Contact John Irwin on LinkedIn. We have our How to Launch your startup in a Weekend course coming up early January. So make
Yeah,
sure you
that's
check out
exciting.
TorontoStarts.com for that. All the links will be in the show notes. And that's about it.
Awesome.
Thanks everyone for watching or listening.
Thanks, everyone.